Testing my voice. Hey there, class. Thanks for taking the time to review these things with me. I just wanted to look at APA grammar, punctuation, organizational errors, and analysis essays just to help, just to strengthen future essays. So first of all, looking at APA, here's how a lot of people ended things. They would do the period, and then they'd do, P period 2 and parentheses. Other people would do page 2, so you put that G in that you don't need to have, and then they'd put the period. Other times they wanted to do several pages, so they'd write PG period, or just the number 1. If you're going to do an APA format thing, and you're doing the last name, author, everything, so you just do Green, comma, 1998 is the year of publication, and then the page number, and parentheses, and a period, and you're good to go. Make sure to indent your paragraphs. I just press the tab key and it indents each of my paragraphs. Also avoid plagiarism. If you are presenting content that isn't anywhere in our essay, you need to show where you got it. And it's not even enough to say, this source demonstrates this and provides this quote. You still need to provide a page number where you got it or the paragraph that you got it, and study your APA formatting so you're doing that correctly. Okay, so looking at short quotations. For the analysis essay, I think I confused you all by just saying, first you introduce the author's full name, the year of publication, and credentials the first time you introduce the author. Then from then on, use last name basis without repeating other info. So all of the in-text citations throughout the essay after that initial one, we're just going to read like this. But for our future essays, and of course a period if it's at the end of a sentence. But for our synthesis essay and beyond, we'll follow these guidelines from the Purdue OWL. They talk about short quotations. If you're directly quoting from a work, you need to include the author, year of publication, page number for the reference, preceded by P period, space. So you introduce the quotation with a signal phrase that includes the author's last name followed by date of publication in parentheses like this. So according to Jones, and you put the parenthesis here with the comma afterward, blah, 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 blah. And then you do page 199 because you've got the last name, you've got the year, and you've got this. But then he also says, so another way is Jones, 1998, found blah, 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 and then again the page number. If the author isn't named in the signal phrase, if he isn't used in the body of your paper, then you'll put his last name and the year and the page number there. And you'll do that for all of your in-text citations throughout your synthesis essay and your argument essay, just to honor the strictest APA formatting guidelines. Also for your long quotations, when they say short quotations, it means quotations that are fewer than 40 words. Quotations that are longer are long and they're set up differently. I'm going to not read all of this to you, but you can read that information this week. You read your APA sheet. It's that APA formatting 2010 sheet that talks about this. But you'd say Jones study found the following, colon, students blah, 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 blah. You see this, there's a period, and then it says P period 199, and there's no period at the end, so it's formatted differently if you're going to do a long quote. Also, we talked about short quotes and long quotes. You want to quote sparingly. Remember to work on just having it be about 10% of your essay. If you're going to have any long quotes, there should just be one maximum. And the reason for this is so that you can write and you can analyze and you can demonstrate without, turning it over to someone that you think can say it even better. This just needs to be your work. So, minimize the quotes. Okay. Reference pages get their own page, and they need double spacing, and again, just study your APA formatting sheet for that. Running head, I don't know why I said writing correctly, sorry, I don't know. It just needs to be in Times New Roman, and it just says running head, and then in caps, blah, 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 a shortened version of your essay. I probably meant written correctly. Okay. And let's look at whatever this was. Oh, okay, if you're quoting within a quote. So here's an example. Say a student wrote this. Postman declares that, as Huxley remarked, quote. So if you're quoting within a quote, you're saying what Huxley said. You just do singular quotation marks in there. And you would go like this. You'd end it. And then you'd do the end quotation marks. And then you do your page. I guess if we're being good about this, you've already said Postman, and you would have wanted to say, whatever year it was published, 1998, declares that blah, 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 and then you could just say page 34, and be done. Okay, and then let's talk about some commas. So I'm providing a lot of student samples and then some revisions. So here's a student sample, Mortimer Adler, and then it's got the year of publication. Founder of the Great Books Program and an editor of the Encyclopedia Britannica argues that one should mark their text. Okay, so here's a revision. Mortimer Adler, and then you do the year and then a comma. Founder of the Great Books Program and an editor of the Encyclopedia Britannica, comma, argues that one should mark their text. Okay, here's another student sample. Before the Internet, society did not have the use of the information highway as we know it today. Revision. Before the Internet, comma, society did not have the use of the information highway as we know it today. And here's another student sample. Mr. Adler does not offer any scientific research or proof that his suppositions are in fact true. Revision, because you can pull in fact out and still maintain meaning in this text, you just put a comma before that, and it's like a sandwich phrase. You can pull it right out and still maintain meaning. Here's another one. In his essay, Dream Machines, creator of The Sims and co-creator of the data network Maxis, William Ralph Wright argues, comma, that blah, 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 blah. And all you do is you maintain, you've got your subject, Wright, he argues, that blah, blah, blah. You just don't have a comma after argues. Here's another one with just something cut off. Postman adds a tone of urgency when describing this phenomenon, and here's a comma splice. It means you're having a comma do something it can't do. He wants to make society aware of how this could have a negative impact. And all you do to change that is you can make that a semicolon, because these are two related things. Now they both have subjects and verbs, and so it's okay to have them have a semicolon. So feel free to study semicolons and also commas and colons and all that. Okay, apostrophe use, examples versus examples. Or if it was, the start of a sentence, examples. Marking one's book versus marking one apostrophe S, one's book. Fulfilling the reader's need, that could be one reader, so that would be this way, fulfilling the reader's need, his one need, or fulfilling the reader's their needs, make it plural. The television's influence on society becomes the television apostrophe S influence on society. Also, there's flip-flopping between singular and plural tense. So you can see another student example. He then gives examples of how marking a book will give a person true, full ownership because they have made it a part of themselves. So there are a couple things to change here. He gives examples of how marking books gives people or persons. Persons is actually more specific. It's, a group or a culture, you'd say people, but if it's like 73 people, it'd be 73 persons. Anyway, I'm fine with people or persons. He gives examples of how marking books gives people true full ownership because they have made their books part of themselves. Work for plural nouns and corresponding pronouns for clarity. So here's an example. All of this is to persuade the reader to consider their own experience as they read. So you'd revise, all of this is to persuade readers to consider. So you want to cast it in plural with corresponding pronouns. All this is to persuade readers to consider their own experiences as they read. Here's another student sample with singular and plural. He argues that the way to become an exceptional and effective reader is to ensure that they are putting their thoughts. So to become one person, one reader, is to ensure that they are putting their thoughts, ideas, and questions down on paper as they read. And it's a really simple switch. He argues that the way to become exceptional, effective readers is to ensure that they are putting their thoughts, ideas, and questions down on paper as they read. So just work on those plural with the corresponding pronouns. Okay, rephrasing for clear subjects and verbs. McCulloch's logos makes the argument that man can blah, blah, blah. His logos doesn't do anything. So you just recast it. McCulloch makes the argument that man can blah, 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 blah. Word choice still, McCulloch is biased when he proposes. It'd just be biased. Also look at sentence fragments. Here's a student sample. Leading the reader to believe that Mr. Adler has personally read and absorbed these ideas, and the reader can also. There's no subject here for the verb, which is leading. All you do to change it is just say this leads the reader to believe that blah, 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 because now you have a subject leads, subject and a verb. Avoid reporting. Show what your evidence demonstrates. I offer this feedback for some students. You're asking the reader to bridge the gap between the information you provide and the reason you're providing it. So say someone's doing their logo section. They say, he uses a 5-year research thing. He also spoke to several people and friends and colleagues. He used an example of this. He did this. So the student is reporting what the author did that demonstrates logos. To make this sing, to really flesh this out, you'd say Carr examines studies done. He provides personal examples. He provides examples from historical figures and from colleagues as well to strengthen his credibility with his readers, to logically appeal to them and to blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So let the reader know this is what I'm seeing, and here are the specific examples where this happens. Past, present, flip-flop, he wanted to instill a little fear and show this stuff. He wants his audience to see how they're trading. Just make it all present tense. He does this, he does this, she does this. Colons versus semicolons. Many people can relate to logging onto the internet to do one quick thing, semicolon, looking up a recipe, responding to an email, or checking the Facebook, and that would just be a colon to replace that. I'm going to show you just briefly some sample organization for an ethos section. It was just really well done. So we'll just sort of look at the topic sentences together. Adler does a fantastic job addressing the ethos portion of his argument. He shows the reader that he's trustworthy with his credentials, expresses knowledge of the idea of marking in a book, quotes other experienced markers, and addresses opposing views. So how's that for a beautiful, when I'm talking about clear topic sentences, the student has just summarized the ethos section. This is what I'm going to be discussing. So let's see. He talks first about he shows the reader that he's trustworthy with his credentials. So you look at this topic sentence. Readers start this article with the assumption that Adler knows a lot about marking a book because he has a great background in the literature world. So first the student addresses his credentials, and then I'm going to look for him showing how he expresses knowledge of the idea. The author shows that he's knowledgeable and aware of all different types of readers by giving these examples. He grabs the attention by mentioning these experts. He does an excellent job addressing why people are not inclined to do this. So can you see that beautiful organization? This is a really nice way to start a section, is to give an overview of what's going to be discussed, and then to do it topic sentence by topic sentence, providing claims, and then providing source support for each of the claims. Okay, and that's all I have for you. So I know it's a lot, but I hope that helps you as you move forward to your next essay. Best of luck.